Austin from the Metal Gods Meltdown, and tonight I'm joined by
Tim, Mothman Dolan, guitar player, Emissary.
And Jim Harris, aka Jimbo. I'm the lead singer of Emissary.
Right, it's great to be chatting to you. Can you tell us a little bit about Emissary and where do you draw your inspirations from musically and lyrically?
Tim, you want to start?
Sure. Well, Emissary, I was heading up to Southern Oregon to go to college, and I ADHD and stuff. I kind of struggled in that. I was going to college for theater arts and stagecraft and all the things that I, wanted to be a part of that had to do with music. I was working before that. I was working for Bill Graham Presents in San Francisco, the promoter, and I wanted to be able to do more than what I was doing. So I wanted to go to college and learn so I could actually plug cables in at some point and things like that with a band. But went to Oregon. I decided I wanted to be a rock star or try to be. Walked into a music store, talked to Jim. I talked to some people before Jim, and I just found some people that were interested. They didn't really fit, but I wanted to get some things rolling. And then I met Jim. We talked, we got together, and showed him my riffs and my ideas. And I was still learning how to play guitar, and I was teaching myself from some books, and I got a couple lessons from a guy in Medford, Oregon. And then Jim said, "Hey, I write lyrics and I sing a little bit, play some drums. Let's get together." We did. And Jim had the name Emissary already. I saw the logo and I was like, yeah, let's go with that. We were talking about other names, and let's go with that. And basically I came from the Bay Area. I was lucky enough to see Metallica in the clubs and all of those bands, Exodus, Testament, Death Angel, which is my favorite out of all of those. And those are the riffs that moved me. So that was my writing style. Stuff like an example, Eye of the Beholder off of And Justice for All. Like, you can't not move your head when that riff comes in. Yeah. You can't. If you don't move your head, then you're not a metalhead. You can't not. It's like involuntary. So I wanted to do that to people too. So that's where most of my riffing came from. I liked glam. I liked Y&T, of course. They're not glam, but I love all good hard rock. I was an OZZY and Maiden and Dio Sabbath. I love regular Sabbath, but I was a Dio Sabbath guy. So all of that really heavy stuff, anything that, even bands like Rat and I'm drawing blanks, but
Cinderella.
Cinderella, yeah.
Cinderella.
Killer guitar riffs and good melodic vocals. So when I heard Jim, it was like, okay, let's go with the best of both worlds. We're gonna meld the stuff like Rat and Y&T and all of that stuff, Maiden, and we're gonna meld that with the Bay Area thrash stuff. I love Bay Area thrash. I didn't like so much of the double time. I like the melodic stuff. I like Death Angel Act 3, where it, they broke away from all the fast stuff and really got melodic. And so I shared that all of the love for that with Jim, and he had a little more of the more obscure metal bands that he liked, and introduced me to like Annihilator, and I already knew of Flotsam and Jetsam, but bands like that. And then we just started writing. At first, we had some glam songs. We didn't even know what we were doing. I was writing songs that sounded like Cinderella mixed with, I couldn't even tell you, but
like a regular Pantera. Started out glammy and got heavier.
Cool.
Like Pantera. So that's how I started my journey in Emissary.
Yeah, and as far as lyrics go, lyrics and vocals, at the same time that we were starting this up, we found that the where we had the crossover was in, like what he was saying, the most melodic records by the heaviest bands.
Yeah.
So listening to like Death Angel Act 3, and then Flotsam and Jetsam Quattro, and Annihilator Set the World on Fire, and Sacred Reich American Way. There was a chunk of those records, Whiplash, Insult to Injury, where the bands that were out and out thrash bands, speed metal bands in the early days, and then they pulled back and kind of got a little more melodic, a little more mid-tempo. A lot of people say everybody made their Black Album, and those records a lot of times are our favorite records in a speed metal band's catalog. When Megadeth kind of pulled it back and did Countdown, and
Yeah.
Euthanasia, and I mean, my favorite is Cryptic Writings.
Really? Right.
She-Wolf was my
Okay.
favorite Megadeth song. So
Right.
that was something where it was like, wow, where am I going to find a guy that, you know, has 1,000 riff ideas and we have that overlap.
Yeah.
He's looking for a vocalist and I need somebody that can write riffs, and comes together like peanut butter and jelly. Like Tim says, it's like we were two puzzle pieces from two different puzzles that just happen to fit together.
So if you could choose 2 tracks from the Wretched Masquerade to introduce me to Emissary, what would you have me listen to?
Timmy?
Well, I mean, I would say I would go kind of the extremes. I would say, of course, Silent Treatment is our it's our anthem, I guess. It's what people probably knew us best as, I guess. And that's kind of the first one I really crafted a whole song and wrote my first guitar solo, not really knowing how to move around the neck very well. I did learn the pentatonic scale, but I don't even know if I was technically using the I don't even think I was using the pentatonic scale yet, even though I kind of knew it, because I'm actually all over the neck on that song, probably playing it completely incorrectly from a seasoned guitar player, but I still play the solo the same way I always played it. And yeah, you know, I would say that, and then Ruler of Defiance, first song on each side if you have an album. The first song from each side, I would say. But after those two, I would say that Hypochondriac takes all of our styles we've ever done and puts them all together. But I would say go listen to Silent Treatment and Ruler of Defiance, and the whole album's going to be in between those 2 songs.
Because I was going to say, if I played one song for somebody, it would absolutely be Silent Treatment. But if I was given the opportunity to play 2, I would play Hypochondriac and Ruler of Defiance, because to me, I feel like those are the sort of bookends. And if you hear those 2 songs, you go, okay, so they can do the fast thrashy stuff and they can do some mid-tempo kind of traditional melodic power metal kind of stuff as well. I mean, we have one, you know, slow song, but that isn't, I don't think, a good representation of our sound as a whole.
Right. Well, I've only had the album like 3 or 4 days, and yeah, Hypochondriac's probably my favorite, actually. I love that.
Great, thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that.
I love the album artwork. I'm big into album artwork. Do you have that framed at your home?
No, I don't have that framed at my home. But the artist did hit me up recently and said, hey, what do you think of this? And he sent me a text from a fan saying, somebody that had bought the album, and I guess they were just sitting there staring at the record and or the CD, and they found him online, the artist online, and messaged him and said, do you sell prints? I want to buy a print of this so I can frame it in my house. And
Same.
he messaged me and said, what do you think about this? Do you care if I do this? And I was like, no, go for it. Like,
Yeah.
Make prints and sell them, and, you know, make the money. We don't even want anything for that. Like,
No.
That's you. He would be selling a painting or a piece of art that it wouldn't have the logo and the name of the album. It would just be the art itself.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah,
we love that artwork. It's a guy named Don Yatomi, and he'd done some work for the band Tourniquet and Megadeth.
Okay.
And
cool.
he's just got an incredible eye, and we
We'll
kind of fed the
Yeah.
idea to him. Tim and I spent hours on the phone talking about what we wanted, and I had a whole list of how I was going to describe it to him. Spent a couple of hours on the phone with Don, and he totally got our vision, and then came back with this thing that we just went, wow, this is exactly what it looked like, you know, in our heads.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, really quick, you know, the metal community is such a unique community, because I don't want to say this wrong, because I don't want to get any, but people are willing to do things just to do them. They're not saying, hey man, I'm gonna need $1,000 for me all the hours. I'm gonna need this. People do a lot of things for us just for the love of metal and the love of seeing their stuff out there. And for me, I really miss the relationship people had with music when you would buy an album. I remember buying Master of Puppets and any Iron Maiden album and putting it on, dropping the needle and just staring at the artwork and being like, oh my God, this is incredible, and figuring all the different things out and the reasons why they look like that. I mean, Eddie was amazing for Maiden, of course, because each album he was a different kind of themed guy, and then, you know, at the end, you know, you got Legacy with all of it. But I really wanted our own Eddie, and although our guy, his name's Rod, that's our mascot, and as in Ruler of Defiance, and he
it's not Joe.
Yeah, his face is a little bit generic skull,
Yeah.
but that's why we wanted to work around it. We didn't want to try too hard because one way it's going to go like Vic Rattlehead, and then the other way it's going to go Eddie. So we wanted to make sure. So we wanted the generic, but then we wanted him to also have a mascot, which is the little raven. But we definitely wanted that piece of the Iron Maiden, formula to give people and for us. And when it comes to framing, I think what I'm waiting for, and I think most of us are probably waiting for in the band, is when we finally get our actual albums. We're getting our, then of course I'm going to be framing an album. We're going to have one with the colored vinyl, red vinyl, and that's when I'll definitely frame that artwork. But we're super stoked on it.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I mean, like I can remember buying Power Slave when I was like, fucking hell, I was 14 years old and doing that, staring at the album. That's what you did. I can still remember doing that. But yeah, so that sounds.
I'm just hoping that the album goes aluminum.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Aluminum would be good.
Yeah. Maybe it goes nickel,
I think we're at pewter right now, which is not too bad.
Okay, cool. Okay, then. So I don't know the American scene obviously that well for tours and festivals, but are you gearing up to go out on tour and do a festival or anything at the moment?
Well, because of when COVID happened, everything got canceled.
Yeah.
Tim was in an active band. I was in another active band. We were on 2 different record labels, and everything fell out from underneath us. And things were looking up for us too. I was being invited to. Yeah, we had 6 festivals confirmed and a bunch of live dates with bigger name bands like Grim Reaper and all this. When the COVID thing happened and everything fell apart, that band, my whole band, jumped ship and went and joined a casino band just so they could play covers. I gave my blessing. It was fine. Okay, go do that. And right at that time, Emissary was reforming. So there wasn't a lot of live opportunities, but we did soak up some of the opportunities left over by my previous band. And then we were able to get on with Tesla. First night.
Wow, I love Tesla.
Direct support. First night of their American tour last year.
Wow. That's one of my favorite gigs ever, Tesla, honestly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, they were fantastic too.
And I've been to a lot.
Yeah. It was a great crowd. And we played with Stephen Piercy of Rat.
Right.
We played at the Legions of Metal Festival.
Yeah.
In Chicago with Riot and Nasty Savage and Slough-Fag and I mean all these fantastic bands.
Blind Illusion, my favorite.
Oh yeah.
My favorite metal drummer was playing with Blind Illusion, Andy from Death Angel. So that was like complete dream come true for me to be standing right next to Andy.
And that was at Redwood Metal Fest. So so we've
done
that.
Legions. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did Legions of Metal and Redwood Metal Fest.
Right.
Yeah.
And then a couple other small fests and then a handful of one-offs. So we've been able to play a little bit here and there. We've got 3 shows coming up in
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, on our Labor Day weekend here. I don't know in America.
Cool.
There's a lot going on that weekend, and we have 3 shows lined up.
Right.
For us, the festivals and stuff. We're still feeling it out. We made a personnel change recently because our drummer actually was living in Alaska, so he was having to come out. And with COVID, travel was really weird and stuff. And then I was in another band, and we had shows with. We had interesting shows with like Quiet Riot and Molly Hatchet and then bands like Saliva and Trapped, those kind of modern rock, hard rock bands that more fit my other band that I was in when they shut down during COVID and canceled all those tours and festivals and stuff. And then and Jim's stuff, he was looking at more overseas stuff too. And now, it's just, there's so many logistics with Emissary because of travel and cost of travel right now, especially with gas crazy in America. It's going down a little bit, which is great, but everything is way more expensive. So, we're not going into this looking to be rich at the moment because we know that's not happening, but getting the opportunity to play with our heroes and be backstage and open up for bands that I used to wait 6 hours in line at an arena to go see so I could run up to the front as close as I could get. And now we're not one of them, but you know what I mean? We're in the same company and same circles. So yeah, so hope we are definitely looking to go overseas for the right festival, maybe next summer. We definitely want to do that. We'd love to go. Keep It True would be great for us. Play with bands like Anvil or Raven or stuff like that. But we'd really we'd love the opportunities. Yeah, we're excited to see what comes since the album's doing so well. It feels like it's been out for so long now to me, but it's really only been a few months, so a couple months. But the feedback we're getting is so good that I'm assuming opportunities will come, and that's exciting.
Yeah,
of course they will. I'm sure they will. Okay, then. So, what has been the most memorable concert that you've played so far? I mean, you said you've been on the same set list as some of my fantastic bands. Have you played with Raven? Actually, have you done anything with Raven?
It's funny because we both played with Raven, but in different bands.
All right, okay.
So my last band played with Raven, and then Tim has another band, and they played with Raven. Right. And we were booked with Raven this last year. And then our drummer couldn't fly in because of COVID restrictions, because he has to fly through Canada.
Yeah.
So he wasn't gonna be able to make it in because there's all these weird rules with, and it wasn't just mask rules. I mean, you had to show that you were vaccinated and all this kind of thing. He was just he couldn't do all the things they wanted him to do. So he said, I'm not gonna be able to make it. We tried to get a replacement drummer in, and it just didn't happen. So we had to cancel the Raven show. But I'd say for me, back in the old days, because we're a reformed band. We were together 25 years ago, and back in the old days, probably there would be two shows, and I know Tim knows which ones I'm going to say were the moments that were the moments of greatness back then. It was opening for Dawkins and opening for a ska swing band from America you may have heard of, called the Cherry Poppin' Daddies, and they have like horns and yeah, it was very crazy. Played in front of a couple thousand people, so those were fun shows. That last one was pretty interesting, but this time around, I'd say that the Rat show was amazing. I mean, all the shows. I really liked playing Legions, and most of all the Tesla show, because it was our comeback show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tesla was a big stage, so that was probably. And the interesting thing with that one was, when we were talking about a reunion, at first we were just saying, hey, let's all meet up in Oregon and do a club date, with some of our friends, and just to get together, maybe play a backyard barbecue. And then it turned out our first night on stage together in over 25 years was at a big fairgrounds opening up for Tesla. And it was absolutely surreal. And definitely, I mean, that's why you get into this. You get into it for the music and stuff, but you have those dreams of being able to be on the level with your heroes. And we got a really great response too. A lot of people that used to come see the band were there, and it was amazing. The line at our merch booth after of us signing autographs was
strangers singing lyrics back to us in the crowd.
Yeah, people I didn't know. Yeah, just singing Silent Treatment stuff, and the Dawkins too for me was definitely that was like, Dawkins was one of my favorite bands at the time when we played with them, and it was all the original members too, not including Juan, who was kind of the original bass player, but you know what I mean. It was
the classic lineup.
The classic lineup, and so those were amazing. The Cherry Poppin' Daddies show was probably our biggest, more like condensed crowd. Like if you see video footage of that, it looks like a classic like Civic Center or almost
like
a small arena.
I'm gonna have to check this out. Yeah, I'll have a look. Okay then. So with YNT, have you ever done any work with them before, or you have? Yeah,
I have twice. Two different bands.
Awesome. Well, YNT played over here with Sebastian Bach. It was a festival. I don't know if I've got it up here actually. No, it's not. It's not here. It's in the other room. But anyway, YNT were on stage, and this dude, is just older than me. It was tears down his face, and all he kept saying was Dave Manchetti, and it was just phenomenal. It was just unbelievable. But he was just so stoked that he saw Dave Manchetti. It was just unbelievable. So yeah, that was.
It's a beautiful thing when people, pretty much the band Rush for me, when I would go see Rush.
Yeah.
I would get so into it, and I would like certain songs would hit. Even if it's not, sometimes there might be a song that has some heavy, whatever. I'm ADD right now, but maybe heavy subject matter, you know, and sad. But then some songs that aren't necessarily sad, it would just hit me. And Rush's band I've seen 77 times, so I'm the psychotic Rush fan. But yeah, there are those. As for Y&T, I was lucky enough to grow up in the Bay Area and see them a lot, and I was lucky enough also to be there both nights. They got some footage from another show, but 2 nights when they filmed Open Fire for the live album, they recorded, and I was right by Phil Kennemore, and I was just screaming my name. I was a kid, so I'm screaming my name, hoping my name would get on the album. You know, somehow, Tim Dolan. And my older sister had to take me because she was over 18, and I had to go with somebody over 18. So, but Y&T, and yeah, I'm lucky enough to meet him a couple times, and just the most amazing guys. And Dave Meniketti, for me, you know, after Alex Lifeson of Rush, Dave Meniketti is so talented and so incredibly.
Even if he was just a lead guitarist, he'd be amazing. Or if he was just a singer, but he's an amazing singer and an amazing lead guitar player and an amazing songwriter. What a great band!
They were that band that all the other bands like wanted to open for. The Motley Crues and the Dawkins, they were all opening for them in LA at the Whiskey and those places back in the 70s. And then but for Y&T, I think, I don't know, dude, I've seen him so many times that every time's amazing, but Meniketti is just it's tough for me to even grasp onto how talented that guy is. And I try, and if somebody's never heard of him, I'm like, go get Black Tiger, listen to Forever.
Yeah,
first listen to Forever, then go ahead and listen to, you know, Mean Streak and the other hits. But it's my band was booked with them, and then in 2008, and then the big American recession hit, and all the clubs started just not doing well, and that one got canceled. And it was a really gut punch to me, man, because they are one of my top 3 favorite bands of all time. So
talking about metal gods, then, who do you think in your eyes is the ultimate metal god?
Ozzy. People will argue about, you know, the Dio versus Ozzy stuff, you know, and Tim's not with me on this. He's a Dio guy when it comes to Sabbath. But I just think Ozzy, just overall, I mean, I like his solo material better than his Sabbath material for sure, because I think that
I agree.
I like the guitar players, and I like the songs. I think that the sound of Ozzy solo versus the sound of Ozzy in Sabbath, I just don't think there's any comparison.
True.
So to me, he's like, you know, the godfather of heavy metal. I mean, he's everything that's great about heavy metal. He's not a particularly, you know, whatever, technically a fancy singer or whatever. He just delivers the songs the way they should be delivered. And you know, and back in the day, he was scary. You know, it was like, oh
yeah, I love
bites the heads off of animals.
He was,
the Mystique. The Mystique made a lot of that music. The Mystique of it. Oh my! Is Tony Iommi really satanic, or Iron Maiden and Dio and all of that? You just don't know. Kiss, do they really kill puppies?
Yeah, I know.
You know, and so as Jim said, I agree with Jim 100%. I know a lot of people crown Rob Halford, and I agree as a frontman vocalist.
Yeah,
he might be there, but you know, Ozzy's melody lines that he wrote, and "You Can't Kill Rock and Roll" is my example always. That melody line gives me goosebumps still to this day. Yet with Ozzy, I go album number 3 and 4. I go Bark at the Moon and Ultimate Sin. And this is blasphemy to all you guitar players, but Jakey Lee's my guy. I would take Jakey over Randy, and I would take Jakey well over Zach. I'm not a Zach Wild guy, but not that I don't respect him and think he's amazing, but I think Jakey Lee had a style and a technicality of his playing that was different. He didn't just try and emulate Randy. I love Brad Gillis too, but he kind of just emulated, you know, Randy Rhoads for the most part. He didn't get much of a chance later, of course, to write much. But Jakey Lee, I would just stare at that guy and just, oh my God, that's who I want to be. That's
everything was cool about Jake.
That's probably why I wanted to be a rock guitar player. Cool. I wanted to go buy myself a trench coat and learn all those moves that him and Warren DeMartini and my brain's not working. The dude from Cinderella who passed.
Jeff LaBar.
Jeff LaBar. Those guys had a style when they play, and it was mesmerizing to me. So OZZY, I 100% agree with Jim. When it comes to Dio and OZZY, I just like the heavier albums. To me, I know people take heavy and use it differently. I thought the Sabbath stuff had too much, do some acid and smoke some pot and listen to Sabbath, and I wasn't as into that. I was more into when I heard Neon Nights. It was over for OZZY and Sabbath for me. I was just like, oh, Neon, and then you get to Children of the Sea, and of course Mob Rules and
Hell, probably one of my favorite albums. Actually,
all of that is my Sabbath stuff, and I would think that, but I understand placements and where people deserve their credit, and OZZY definitely is the guy that I mean, he is 100% the Metal God.
100%. Okay, so going back to Emissary, like you said, you reformed not so long ago. What is the grand plan for the band? Are you looking for fame and fortune, or just artistic acceptance in this genre?
I think we all are. I think everybody's looking for that. Those days are over. We both have record deals, and different labels too. So, I'm in a modern hard rock, kind of newer, I like Buck Cherry meets Breaking Benjamin, I guess. I don't even know. But, that label's different than the label Emissary's on. And although our Emissary's label, Underground Power, we kind of did get paid because, they're giving us so much awesome exposure and a lot of, physical product for us to sell. That's great. The days of, if you could get a song in a movie or a TV show or something, and the deal's worked right, you can make a little money. But I think for me, I want to play the shows with my heroes. The money is nice, but I'll pay $1,000 if we can go open for Maiden. 100%. I would do, any of my hero bands, if we could go out and play a show with Death Angel or Anthrax or blah blah blah, I'd pay probably whatever I could afford to be able to do that and have that poster of the Flyer in my room that says I got to play with these guys.
Brilliant.
I think there's a confusion about the term validation. Like, people think, oh, you're seeking validation or whatever, by it like validates us by being in magazines or getting on with big bands. I mean, it's nice and sure, it's validating, but we would do this regardless, even if there weren't huge opportunities out there, and even if we got no metal magazines. For me, it was kind of unfinished business. We had these great songs and we had good demos, and when the band broke up, we were together from 93 to 96, and when the band broke up, grunge came in. It was just such a hit that I didn't want to, continue playing music until I could play music that I like. So it came back around with new wave of traditional heavy metal, and people started liking old school metal again. And we talked about getting the band back together, and it was like, okay, like I said, unfinished business. Let's get this done. Let's get this record done. And now that it's out, it's sort of like, okay, now what's next? We started writing a few new songs. We're working on one now. I'm gonna put that into our live set, and we got a few more that we're finishing up that we're going to be recording soon. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That sounds amazing. I mean, obviously your fans are going to be dotted all around the world. When you do play live, do you do live streams or anything like that, or do you intend
Haven't yet.
to?
We've done one, but it wasn't from us.
Oh yeah, that's right. We did do one.
Yeah, there's a play Denver. When we played Denver, they do a live stream there.
That'd be cool.
And that's somewhere online right now. People can go check it out. That was our first show in a year, to kick off our tour in May. And so yeah, I mean, it's definitely incredible to be able to. My favorite things. What are my favorite things? Going to concerts, putting, when I was a kid, finding the new Hit Parade or Kerrang Circus, getting every good picture that's in there and put it somewhere on my wall.
What's the best thing about being on the road, and also then what's the downside?
Best part on being on the road, it's seeing the faces of heavy metal fans that are strangers that are loving what you do, and you see other people that are part of your family that you've never met. Like just getting into a town and having people come up and talk to you, and they want you to sign things, and they got a band shirt on. You guys can talk, or they have patches on their vest, and you like those guys or whatever. And for me, it's all about the culture.
Yeah.
So that's amazing for me. I mean, being on stage is cool, but participating in the culture of heavy metal is the most fun thing for me. I would say the down part, people will say, being away from home or whatever. Really, the last time we went on the road and we had a tour bus, there was a moment where the air went out right when we hit the hottest state.
Yeah.
And that wasn't fun, being uncomfortable. And we had to get rooms because we couldn't sleep on the bus.
Right.
So the sort of the fight or flight, like, we were turning the bus around at one point and got stuck in somebody's yard. Had to call and have it towed out. It was just, we had a bird, this thing, we call it a pterodactyl. There was an eagle with this huge wingspan. I was sitting up front and it smashed into the windshield. Glass went everywhere. It was in my hair. And,
my God.
So there's scary things like, are we going to make it to the gig on time? And are we going to be able to get a hotel? And we don't know where we are.
Yeah.
That kind of feeling a little bit helpless, a little bit lost and a little bit stranded. For me, that's nightmare stuff. Every nightmare I have, it's not monsters. It's being lost or being stranded somewhere where I don't know where to get back to where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that's part of the flavor for me. I mean, I don't want bad things to happen, but when you come back and you have those stories of, we hit a bird, we got stuck on a lawn, we got pulled over, I was on a tour bus once and we were pulling into New York and we got pulled over by some police right when we got to New York. Right, we were going over this bridge and we were coming down onto the highway and we got pulled over and they were like, if you would have kept going, you would have taken the top of your bus off because you're on the wrong area for high profile. So then we got a police escort. So we felt really super cool there. We had some videos of cops driving us where we need to go. But,
our guitarist got a police escort. In Chicago.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So, and for me, all of those things, I prefer the bad things don't happen. But it all adds to the story. And for me, it's being on the road with your guys that you were in a living room with years and years ago, writing music and stuff. And even though, whether or not you're touring and losing money and playing smaller shows, you kind of made it. You're like, we're actually on tour. Emissary never really toured. We would go and play San Francisco and we'd go up and play Portland, but that was kind of, everybody packing their cars and going down, but to jump on a real tour bus and, you get some snobby dudes going, oh man, you're only having that many dates and you're on a tour bus, man. That's really dumb and stuff. It's not dumb. It's a killer experience. We get cool footage of us on a bus and we get that experience of hanging out. It gets sticky and it gets hot and the shower on the bus is great, but it's not simple to just go in and take a shower. And, it's being with your bros and actually being able to say you're on tour and having a poster or a flyer say, tour dates and on tour. And then, definitely the people you meet that you had no idea has heard of your band. And you're like, wow, well, that's great. And in Chicago, Jym and I are friends with the guy now, but the guitar player for Jag Panzer was right standing in front of me. And he knew my scenario because the Chicago scenario, our other guitar player and our super shred god, did not make the show. He tried to make the show, but he was detained by police and they thought he was on drugs, which he wasn't. And then he ended up getting out of wherever he was, New Mexico or Minnesota or something.
Yeah, they held him for the day and they didn't give him the ticket.
Yep. And he couldn't get there. So I'm sitting there going, okay, I have to cover both guitar parts. I'm not, OZZY is great and there are bands that are great with one guitar player, but I'm a fan of, if you're playing metal, you gotta have two guitar players. I don't love the dropout of the guitar during a guitar solo where it's just bass. I don't personally love that. Yes, Rush is my favorite band, but that's different. But yeah, it's those things, and having a guy like Mark from Jag Pants are standing in front of me, knowing the situation, knowing I'm nervous, struggling, and lifting his fist and giving me energy where I'm just like, that made it all worthwhile. So those kind of moments, and definitely the other bands that you're playing with when they come up and say you had a great set. And,
there's another cool thing. When we did an autograph signing, we got into this book, a history book of the Northwest hard rock and heavy metal scene. It's like an encyclopedia of bands, over the years or whatever. Yeah. We got into that, and that was one of the things that helped launch us. We went to the book signing for that. Wow. And a lot of the bands that were going to be in the book were there. Some guys from Glacier and Q5 and Heir Apparent. But as soon as we walk out, first some guy just walks up to us with our demo tape, like from 93 or 4 or whatever. Walks up and is like, "Man, I've been waiting years to meet you guys here. Will you sign this?" And Tim just looks at me like this. I can't even describe the look on his face. He's just like, "This is crazy," that we got fans all over the world we didn't even know. I mean, there's an underground of heavy metal, and I'm a fan of a lot of whatever no-name bands or whatever. But it's the same kind of a thing. If I go and meet, I don't know, Leatherwolf or somebody that I loved back in the day, and walk up to, "Hey, I've got your first tape," or whatever, you can hand it to them. They're like, "Whoa."
Yeah, exactly, man. Absolutely. Right.
And that's how we got signed. Yeah, and that's how we got signed, kind of. So somebody in Germany, the guy at Underground Power knew who we were already and had the demo, I guess. And, so it's like, oh, awesome. We had heard rumblings back in the day after we had broken up. Jim and I had talked a couple times, and we heard some rumblings that some people knew who we were somewhere, and then we got confused with another Emissary at one point, but yeah.
If you were an instrument, what would you be and why?
That's a new one.
Probably a piano, because I'm super ticklish. Anybody that touches me, I go like that. And, tickle and Irish. But I would say drums, because I'm always in a rhythm. I'm always like, even if I'm stopped, I'm kind of going like this a little bit. And drums were the first, when I first saw Kiss on HBO in the late 70s, that was it. Peter Criss was what I wanted. I never thought about playing bass. Of course, Gene Simmons, I'm just like, oh God. And Ace Frehley was my favorite guy. But I would, drums, because of the rhythm and the just the nonstop, kind of got to go through the whole song, and drums for me,
And we're always beating them up. So,
right?
Drums.
I'm very beat on all the time.
What a cool instrument. No, I'd say drums too. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's an instrument that you hit. It's not something that you pluck delicately or have to blow some wind into. It's like you fucking hit it. Can I curse? Oops.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so can you give us 4 words to describe Emissary?
Go, Jimbo.
4 words?
Yeah.
Well, the 2 styles of music that we say that we're a bridge between is melodic thrash and power metal. So I guess melodic thrash and power metal.
Brilliant.
There we go.
Okay, I'm going to go the other way. Yeah, I'll go the other way, and I'm just going to use words that I think represent the band, like dedication, commitment, perseverance, and just absolute joy.
Brilliant. Love it. Okay, so next bit's 5 questions, either or either. So the first one, vinyl or digital?
Digital. I mean, the opportunity to do this, to make the album. And I know, the act, so I like the dropping the needle, having to get up, turn the album over. Love that. Love the crackle in the beginning, but digital, digital.
I'd have to say digital for the sound, but vinyl for the artwork, because you get to hold the record in your hand and see that big piece of art.
Absolutely. Okay, next one then. Pizza or beer?
Pizza. I don't drink beer. I don't drink alcohol.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. I only drink when I'm working. I only drink when I play. And I'm in a few tribute bands in Denver. And I'm in a few projects. And I always have to do a shot. And sip on a beer right before, like right when our intro music starts and the lights go out. I do a quick shot or half a shot. I actually measure it out so I don't drink too much in the day. But and I hate to be non-manly. I just don't like the taste of beer, so I only really drink beer if I'm in the bar playing a show.
Fair enough.
So
Okay.
pizza. Yep.
Great. Okay. So saints or sinner?
Saint.
We're all sinners.
We're all everything, but I try to be a saint.
Okay. Great answer.
I choose sinner because I don't think being a sinner is a bad thing. Being a sinner is being human.
Cool.
You know?
Okay.
Sure.
So festival or small intimate gig?
Festival. I mean, that's the dream. So definitely. If I had to play a festival at 11 a.m. and not everybody's there yet, people are filing in still, I would take that over a full club, I think, for me.
I'm going to go the other way, and I would say intimate setting, because for one, I rather do indoor gigs, because you can run sound a lot easier. The sound's a little bit more manageable that way. And on a festival, if you're a daytime band opening for some huge band, I'll give you an example. I had an all-ages venue for a while. I ran a record shop that had an all-ages venue attached, and the band Mastodon was touring with Slayer.
Right.
And they had a night off of the Slayer tour, and they came in to do a gig at Music Head at my shop, because they had some local friends. Matter of fact, our producer, Doug Hill, worked on some of the Mastodon stuff, and Scott Kelly from Neurosis sings on one track of on every Mastodon record. He lives here. He's a friend of mine, and he I think he had something to do with helping bring Mastodon. But I remember when they got there, I said, "Boy, this must be, pretty lame, playing in a little record store in front of 50 kids compared to playing with Slayer." And he says, "No," he goes, the singer said, "When we play with Slayer, we're playing to Slayer fans."
Yeah.
He goes, "But at this show, we're playing to Mastodon fans."
Brilliant. Yeah.
He's like, "We'd rather play to 50 Mastodon fans than, 5,000 Slayer fans, because when you're up on stage, people are just waiting for you to get done, so they can see the band they want to see."
Brilliant. Okay, so the final question then is Master of Puppets or Heaven and Hell?
Timmy?
Wow, that's front to back Master of Puppets.
Brilliant.
But Heaven and Hell is his favorite Sabbath record.
Is it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite songs of all time. But I mean, if you're gonna give me, you can have this many songs you like from this area and this many songs from this. I master, because I love every single song. I'm not into every single song on Heaven and Hell. I like them, but no, yeah, Master of Puppets. And Master of Puppets has some memory things attached. I remember the day I got it. I had a toothache and I was at home, and it was a Tuesday, back when albums were released on Tuesdays, and my sister, who I don't get along with, but that I got a lot of my musical tastes from, because she had all the albums, because she was older, and she got me into Rush and Kiss and all of that. She went and knew I wasn't feeling good, and she went and picked it up the day it came out, and gave it to me. And I was also lucky enough to see Metallica perform Battery and Master of Puppets, those two songs, basically for the first time ever at Down the Green in Oakland in '85, when they were opening for Y&T, Scorpions, Rat, Yngwie was there, and so there's a lot of the and I got to see that tour when they opened for Ozzy on the Ultimate Sin tour, when they played their first arena show in their hometown of San Francisco. I know they're LA-ish, but they're known as the Bay Area band. And seeing them at the Cow Palace, the big arena in San Francisco, opening for Ozzy, was just, I remember walking in and seeing the crosses going up the little, and just and then I got my way up to the very front, right in front of Kirk Hammett. And then the interesting quick story, a couple months before that, about 2 months before that, I was at a Kiss and Wasp show, and I saw Kirk out by the backstage door, and he was a little drunk, and I went up to him, and I had been around him a few other times before at like Death Angel shows, and he's always been accessible. And I said, "Hey, so Kirk, when are you playing here next?" And this show was at the Cow Palace as well with Kiss and Wash, and he looked at me and he was like, "Here?" Like that's not going to happen, because if you're from LA and you're in a band, the Forum is where you want to play one day. And of course, Metallica wanted to play the Cow Palace because it's the biggest place. And he's like, "Here?" And like that's a fat chance. And then about 3 weeks later, the newspaper on Sunday came out, and it had a section in it with all the concerts. There was a full-page ad, Ozzy Osbourne with Metallica.
Wow.
And I'm just like, at the Cow Palace. And then later, I was lucky enough to get on part of the road crew with Metallica for a little while, and I got to relay that story to him and let him know that I kind of got him on that one. But
it's amazing.
Master Puppets, 100%.
Master Puppets for me. Metallica's more my era than Black Sabbath. So yeah.
Okay, excellent. Right, well, I want to thank you so much for your time this evening. Do you have any final words for your fans, our viewers, and listeners?
Just follow us online. I mean, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Emissary Metal Band. You can find us on Instagram as the original Emissary. You can find us on Bandcamp as the original Emissary.
Yeah.
And we just we hope that metalheads all over the world are digging the record. So far, it's gotten a lot of good feedback. I mean, we've been getting good record reviews and comments on YouTube and that kind of thing. We got more music videos to come. We got more material to put out. Hopefully before too long.
Yeah.
The Wretched Masquerade, is kind of just a start of introduction to Emissary for the rest of the world.
Excellent.
And it's a celebration. It's definitely a celebration too. Taking the old songs we wrote when we were just learning, and we did polish them, and added a few things, but we really didn't go over technical and I'm better now, so I'm going to do this. And we changed certain things that made sense to change, but and I would say give the whole album a chance. I know it's tough these days with people's attention spans and social media and stuff, but I think we wrote a nice little book and story within this album, and if you listen to the whole thing, your favorite song might be the last song on if you have the tape or whatever, it might be the last song on side 2. But I think the album flows really well, and give the whole album a chance, and don't look at it with a skeptical eye of are these guys as technical as these other bands, or are these guys playing as fast as these other bands, or just give it a chance, and bring us to your town.